Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of my Schober Organ videos. Today we're going to take a tour of the organ's tone generating system. We're going to explore how this instrument produces sound and how it attempts to imitate the sounds of a pipe organ. So here we're looking at the main tone generator. This is where the sound originates. Over here we have an oscillator circuit. And it is generating a very, very high-pitched tone. I think it's something like 2 megahertz, way, way above the range of human hearing. But that extremely high-pitched sound can then be divided into all of the musical tones. So this is a special chip here that takes that very high-pitched oscillation and breaks it up into the musical tones that we know as notes, C, D, E, so forth. And what it finally produces is the top octave of notes or pitches that we associate with music. Then there's this row of IC chips right here. These are divider chips that take each of these musical pitched tones and divides them in half, in half, in half, in half, in half. So we take the C from our first divider chip, it goes into the secondary divider, and it divides it in half, divides it in half, divides it in half, and we get high C clear down to low C. And then we do all the B's, high B down to low B, all the A sharps, all the A's, all the G sharps, all the G's, and so forth. Now, I did refer to these as notes by the letter names that we associate with music. But at this phase, it's really best to think of this as just raw pitches. This is the raw material that we're going to create our final sounds with. And what we have here at this point are square waves. The oscillator is producing a square wave. We've divided into the musical pitches. It's still square waves. We've divided them in half and in half to get all 97 pitches that we need. And they're still square waves. But the organ really wants to hear sawtooth waves. So if we look at it, initially we've developed our square wave. And then you'll see there's all these rows of resistors above these divider chips. Well, what those are doing is taking that square wave and converting it into this stair-stepped sawtooth wave. An actual sawtooth wave might look a little more like this and be a little more rounded. You'll forgive my drawing skills. But as far as what the final sound is, it's more or less the same. Now, because we're thinking of this as raw pitches, there's 97 of them from about 30 cycles clear up to just under 4,000 cycles. And a bunch of stuff has to happen before we have the sounds that we actually hear the organ doing. Each key triggers 5 of these tones. The 5 tones are suboctave, which is below normal pitch, unison, which is normal pitch, then octave, an octave above normal pitch, the quint, which is halfway above that, and then finally the super octave. Those 5 tones then go into a filter system, and that's what we'll take a look at next. So here we're looking at the Schober filter system. So what happens? Our tone generator that we just looked at is producing all 97 pitches that we need all at once. They're just constantly running. Then those pitches are fed into the keying system, and that is a mechanical setup that sits underneath the keyboard, and we'll take a look at that in a future video. But each key triggers or opens the gate for the 5 pitches that are associated with that note. We have suboctave, unison, octave, quint, and super octave. Now there's 61 keys and there are 97 pitches, and some quick math will let you know that obviously there's some overlap in all of that. But at any rate, so if I hit a group of keys, then all of the sub-octave pitches go to a single bus. All of the unison pitches go to a single bus. All of the octave pitches and so forth. Those bust or combined pitches are brought into the filter card. Now, the motherboard has an initial filter system that does some shaping on that stair-stepped sawtooth wave. And then from there, it goes into a set of buses that run the length of the cards. And each of these cards does the final filtration to create the specific tone color or voice that we're wanting to achieve. So here we have our 8-foot diapason. And what we see here is that two of the pitches, the unison and the octave, are being fed into a filter circuit, and then that goes to the output bus. All of the outputs of each of the cards goes to an output bus. There's a small amplifier circuit here. Here's our output, and then that goes over to our preamp and vibrato circuit, and then eventually that goes to amplifiers and speakers, and we hear the music. So this kind of system is called a single oscillator divider network system. And it has the advantage of really you can get a lot out of some fairly simple circuitry. Its disadvantage is that you lose what's called multi-rank ensemble. If we think about the way a pipe organ works, each stop or voice on a pipe organ comes from a separate source. Each pipe in a pipe organ is one note of one voice. So on a pipe organ, when I open up a lot of stops and I play a lot of notes, I've got dozens, and in the case of really large organs, I might even have hundreds of pipes all sounding together. Here, we've done kind of the opposite. We've taken a single source, we've broken it up into a bunch of elements, and ultimately, the filter system is ultimately going to kind of combine that all back together so that at the end of the day, we have a lot of variety, but we still only have a single source. Think of it this way. Say I go into a recording studio and I record all 4 parts of a hymn. That's not going to ever sound the same as if I take a large choir with mixed voices and record that same hymn. No amount of studio trickery is ever going to make my one voice sound the same way that a big choir would sound. But then again, there is the reality that to make an organ that has a lot of whistles and bells and is going to be relatively inexpensive and nice and compact for home use, this type of single oscillator divider network filter system is very handy. And a musician did get a lot of nice things out of this. Thanks for watching. Next time we'll look at the keyboards and the keying system and some of the modifications I'm going to make there. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell if you want to receive notifications on future videos. See you next time.